Transformers 96 here with another review. This time we have the Marvel Legends Infinite series from the Hulkbuster Build-A-Figure wave, Thundra, as well as Valkyrie. So yeah, so overall, originally I was going to plan to review these separate, but when I got them, most of my opinions on them are the same. So rather than do two separate reviews where I'm basically repeating myself, I figured I'll just do one review for both of them. So yeah, so they do come with separate Build-A-Figure pieces. Sometimes recently with like the Thanos as well as the Rhino wave, the two women in the wave seem to share one Build-A-Figure that's the same exact piece. However, this is a wave where that is an exception. They do come with completely different Build-A-Figure pieces, so you'll need to buy both of them to complete the Hulkbuster. Overall, they are both retools of the red She-Hulk mold from I believe it's from the Rocket Raccoon wave, I think, possibly Hit Monkey. No, it's definitely Rocket Raccoon, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, so it's a muscular body sculpt for a woman. They haven't used this in just over a year, maybe 2 years now. So it's an old mold, unfortunately, which can be bad. Overall, it's pretty decent. I actually don't have the She-Hulk, the red She-Hulk, so I don't quite know this mold. This was my first time getting it, so it was definitely new, which is always fun. Going over Valkyrie, I definitely find Valkyrie to be the best of the two. As you can see, the head sculpt is pretty decent. The eyes are a bit far apart. The pupils, I guess, are not quite pointed in the same direction, but it's so slight that it's not a big deal, which is nice. I've seen some that are much worse than this. Like from this angle, it looks pretty bad. From this angle, it doesn't look too bad though. So it's mostly an angle thing. Her hair is sculpted really nicely on the right side here. She's got more hair hanging down, kind of across her face, and then she does have the two ponytails, as you can see, sculpted quite nicely. They're sculpted really interestingly. I would have expected them to be coming down her back, but they did actually sculpt them to the front and kind of to be able to hang off her there. So overall, I think that's an interesting sculpt for the hair on her. We go down to the body. They do actually have two different upper torsos, and actually probably lower torsos as well. Actually, I think it's just the upper torsos that are different, and then Valkyrie does have these two metal plates that are kind of stuck onto her abs. But as you can see, it is sculpted differently. Those are extra plates on her. So overall, that is pretty interesting. And this, the neck piece isn't just painted as well; it is actually sculpted on, which is quite nice. Overall, the little bands on her arms are just painted, as well as the armor on there, though I wish that they would have done what they did with the circular plates and actually sculpted the gauntlets or the bracelets there on her arms instead of just painting them. The belt is actually glued in place, and I like the way it's glued, the way it's kind of going up and down, and rather than just straight across. I think that that's pretty nice and gives it a kind of comic, kind of drawing almost look to it. And overall, the legs are pretty plain, just as black. Go over Thundra here. I don't really know anything about Thundra. I don't know too much about Valkyrie, but I do know some about her. But Thundra, I have no idea who the character is. Overall, the face sculpt is pretty nice. She's got a good expression. It's always nice to get a figure that has some expression. It isn't just so stoic and plain. Her eyes are painted very well. They look completely straight on. The hair is nice. It's kind of this. It's a bright orange, but with some different shades of orange and just a tad bit of gray kind of washed in there. It looks like they attempted to make the hair painted really kind of well, but it does come off pretty bright, and that might be accurate to the character, but it is a bit bright for my taste. But if it is accurate to the character, then it's fine. Her clothing, just pop the head off here so you can see it better. The clothing, of course, let's focus on her, is like, I don't know how you'd explain it. It's almost like a bra there that's also a sleeve. It's a really interesting looking outfit. It's actually pretty neat. The only problem I have with it is this detail right here looks really nice. It's got a nice gold band with almost like a stitching pattern over it. It looks like it would have been really great sculpted on. Unfortunately, they just painted it, and that is definitely a heartbreaker. I have to say that would have looked great if it was actually sculpted on. Would have really made the figure pop and pretty interesting. Unfortunately, it is just painted though. Definitely what I would consider the worst part of the figure is the fact that that is just painted and not sculpted. You can see the abs because she doesn't have like a shirt painted on or anything. It's just her skin, so you can see the abs quite clearly, and they're much more noticeable than Valkyrie, even though she does have them sculpted on. But because she's wearing black, and it's a glossy black, they kind of fade in, so you can really, she looks much tougher than Valkyrie, which is kind of interesting. So you can see her muscles a little bit more. The legs have this kind of cheesy kind of bolt pattern gone down the side there to a to a gold kind of boot. I wish that the boot color was the same metallic gold that's used up here and used up here. Unfortunately, they did just go with a matte, kind of just plain gold type of look. So I would have liked that to actually be metallic like the other parts, but that is not a big deal. Her weapon is like a ball and chain, but it's a very small ball, so it's just like a really big chain though. It's sculpted in a pretty decent way. It doesn't have any articulation or anything. It's just a slightly softer plastic, so it will kind of fall to the floor if you just have her standing there. So yeah, overall both of her hands are in a holding position, same thing as Valkyrie there, which is annoying. I would have liked one hand to be ready to hold something and then another hand as a fist, because these are supposed to be, you know, tough, strong women. It would have been nice to put them in some punching poses. Unfortunately, though, that can't really be done to the fullest effect, having their hands look like they're meant to be grasping an accessory. Valkyrie comes with her signature sword here, which is really nice. It didn't really bend at all in package, which is wonderful. It's a very straight sword. You've got a nice kind of gold, not quite metallic gold though, hilt there, as well as a little dragon sculpted at the end, which is just how her sword is in the comics. Overall articulation on them is pretty good. Valkyrie has a ball jointed head, as well as Thundra, but Thundra's hair completely just basically hinders her articulation completely. Valkyrie, however, can actually use her articulation to the fullest, really isn't hindered whatsoever by the hair, which is very nice. It's got a ball hinge shoulder bicep swivel with a hinge swivel elbow. Sorry about that, I ran out of space. So overall, what I was saying was she's got a hinge swivel elbow. Unfortunately, though, being that this is an older mold, the hinge doesn't work very well. There it is, fully extended, and it goes in about this much. So not too good as far as the newer sculpts for women are nowadays. Ball hinge or hinge swivel wrist, which is nice. Ball jointed upper torso, which is hindered going forward, but does move back quite a decent amount and side to side. She's got ball hinge thighs with a thigh swivel, double hinge knees, and hinge pivoting the ankles. One thing that's nice about this older mold is that the hinge is really good for going forward. Like that is a really good hinge joint on the ankle there. That's something that on the newer figures don't have such a good hinge when it goes forward. Like the new figures, the new sculpt does move back on the ankle there, but not as far forward. Here is a newer sculpted woman body. As you can see, she is so much shorter than those two. Get them standing up. The other two, of course, are supposed to be really tough and big, and this mold probably worked really well for She-Hulk, but for these two characters, I don't picture these characters being this massive. Like, even with a male figure that's in an armored suit, they still, like, kind of tower over him. I mean, it just looks a little strange. I can't imagine that this is really the sculpt. They're mostly, like, giants here, so overall, I think that this sculpt is more suited for She-Hulk and not quite so much in other figures that even are supposed to be tough and big. I think they just come across more like giants or so much bigger that they're not even in scale with them, actually, I have to say. Overall, the new body sculpt for the women is much better than this old one, although there are this isn't too far behind it, I have to say. And then when it comes to the ankle articulation, it's actually a tad bit better than the newer sculpt, so that's nice. Overall, two figures that are pretty good, nothing too special. They're older molds, which is unfortunate. If you are only going to buy one, I would highly recommend buying Valkyrie. She's got some newly sculpted parts, as well as her head and the braids are sculpted really nicely and they don't hinder her articulation. I like her accessory better, and overall I would just consider her the better out of the two figures for sure. Although both of them are pretty decent. I like them a little bit more than I expected to, actually. So overall, two pretty decent figures. Both come from the same She-Hulk mold. So yeah, there you go. That's my review of the Marvel Legends Infinite series from the Hulkbuster BAF wave, Valkyrie and Thundra. Thanks so much for watching.